The role of women in Islam has been one of the most misunderstood and controversial topics in modern discourse. Despite the Quran's progressive teachings over 1,400 years ago, many Islamic societies have failed to uphold the principles of gender equality. And today, my friend, we're diving into this sensitive topic to uncover the complex reality of women's roles in Islam, from tradition to modernity. Now, throughout history, women in Islamic societies have often been relegated to secondary roles. However, the Prophet Muhammad's first wife, Khadijah, was a successful businesswoman, and Aisha, another of his wives, became a renowned scholar and teacher. Yet, these empowering examples are often overshadowed by patriarchal interpretations of Islamic texts. In many Muslim-majority countries, traditional practices still dictate women's lives. Women are expected to adhere to strict dress codes, practice gender segregation, and prioritize family over personal ambitions. But why has this traditional role persisted for so long? The answer lies in a complex interplay of religious interpretations, cultural norms, and patriarchal influences. Let's take a look at Saudi Arabia, one of the most conservative Islamic countries. Until recently, women weren't allowed to drive, and they still require a male guardian's permission for many activities. This strict adherence to tradition is often justified by religious leaders who claim to protect women's modesty and honor. But is this truly reflective of Islamic teachings? Not really. The Quran itself promotes gender equality in many ways. For example, it grants women the right to own property, earn money, and receive an education. However, patriarchal interpretations have twisted these teachings to maintain male dominance. In some interpretations, verses that promote modesty have been used to justify complete control over women's bodies and freedoms. This tension between traditional roles and modern aspirations is not just a theological debate. It's a real-life struggle for millions of Muslim women. Take the story of Malala Yousafzai, a Pakistani girl who was shot by the Taliban for advocating girls' education. Her story is a powerful reminder of the dangers women face when challenging traditional norms. But it's not all bleak. Across the Muslim world, women are making big steps towards equality. In Tunisia, women hold 27.4% of parliamentary seats, a significant achievement in a region where political participation is often limited for women. In Bangladesh, women are at the forefront of political leadership, with Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina leading the country since 2009. Education has been a key driver of change. Literacy rates among Muslim women have risen significantly, with countries like Malaysia boasting a female literacy rate of 96.4%. Education empowers women to challenge traditional norms and pursue careers, further blurring the lines between tradition and modernity. However, progress is not uniform across the Muslim world. In Afghanistan, where female literacy rates are as low as 29.8%, traditional roles remain deeply entrenched. Cultural and political factors often exacerbate these disparities, creating a patchwork of progress and regression. In many Western countries, Muslim women navigate a different set of challenges. They often face stereotypes and discrimination, both from within their communities and from broader society. Yet, they continue to advocate for their rights, balancing their faith with their desire for equality. The rise of social media has also played a crucial role in amplifying women's voices. Platforms like Twitter and Instagram provide a space for Muslim women to share their stories, advocate for change, and connect with others facing similar struggles. Hashtags like #MosqueMeToo and #LetNourShine have brought global attention to issues of sexual harassment and discrimination within the Muslim community. Despite these advancements, many challenges remain. Honor killings, domestic violence, and forced marriages are still prevalent in some Muslim-majority countries. These practices are often justified using religious rhetoric, but they stand in stark contrast to the core principles of Islam, which emphasize compassion, justice, and respect for all individuals. As we explore the role of women in Islam, it's essential to consider the diverse experiences of Muslim women. Intersectionality, the idea that various social identities, such as race, class, and gender, intersect to create unique experiences, is a critical lens for understanding these dynamics. A wealthy woman in Dubai may face different challenges and opportunities than a poor woman in rural Afghanistan, yet both are shaped by their identities as Muslim women. But before moving forward, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. Seriously, it takes hours and hours of effort to do the research in a very detailed way. Now let's get back to the video. Post-colonial theory also provides valuable insights into the current state of gender dynamics in Muslim-majority countries. The legacies of colonialism have left deep scars, often exacerbating gender inequalities. Colonial powers frequently imposed their own patriarchal structures, which were then adopted and adapted by local elites. This historical context helps explain why some Muslim-majority countries have struggled to achieve gender equality. It's important to recognize that the struggle for women's rights within Islam is not a monolithic movement. Islamic feminism, for example, seeks to reinterpret religious texts to promote gender equality. These feminists argue that the Quran's original teachings were progressive for their time, and that it is the cultural and historical contexts that have led to regressive practices. Conversely, secular feminists advocate for a separation of religion and state in matters of gender equality. They argue that true progress can only be achieved by dismantling patriarchal structures entirely, rather than reinterpreting them. This debate between Islamic and secular feminism is itself a reflection of the broader tension between tradition and modernity. One of the most contentious issues is the practice of veiling. In some countries, like Iran and Saudi Arabia, veiling is mandatory, while in others, such as Turkey and Tunisia, it is a personal choice. The debate over veiling is complex and multifaceted, encompassing issues of religious freedom, personal autonomy, and cultural identity. For some women, wearing a veil is a deeply personal and empowering choice. It allows them to express their faith and identity while navigating a world that often judges them by their appearance. For others, mandatory veiling is a form of oppression, stripping them of their autonomy and forcing them to conform to patriarchal norms. This diversity of perspectives underscores the importance of listening to Muslim women's voices. Their experiences and views are not homogeneous. They are shaped by a myriad of factors, including geography, socioeconomic status, and personal beliefs. Statistics provide a sobering glimpse into the realities faced by Muslim women. According to a 2019 report by the World Economic Forum, the Middle East and North Africa region has the highest gender gap in the world. Women in this region earn only 57% of what men earn, and only 20% participate in the workforce. These figures highlight the significant barriers that remain in the quest for gender equality. Despite these challenges, there is reason for hope. Grassroots movements and international advocacy efforts are making a difference. Organizations like the Malala Fund are working tirelessly to ensure that every girl has access to quality education. Legal reforms in countries like Morocco and Tunisia have improved women's rights in marriage and inheritance. The story of women in Islam is one of resilience and determination. It is a story of women who have fought and continue to fight for their rights, often at great personal risk. It is a story that defies simplistic narratives and requires a nuanced understanding. However, it does not end here. The practice of veiling. The image of a veiled woman has become one of the most powerful symbols of Islam, evoking a range of emotions from reverence to oppression. To understand why, we must explore the historical, religious, and cultural dimensions of this practice. The Quran mentions the concept of modesty in several verses, encouraging both men and women to dress modestly. Surah An-Nur, 2400 hours 31. Instructs believing women to draw their veils over their chests and not display their beauty except to their close relatives. Surah Al-Ahzab, 33:59, advises the Prophet's wives and believes women should wear outer garments so they may be recognized and not harmed. These verses have been interpreted in various ways over the centuries. Historically, the practice of veiling predates Islam, with evidence of veiling found in ancient Assyrian, Greek, and Persian cultures. When Islam emerged, it adopted and adapted existing cultural practices, including veiling, within its religious framework. The veil became a symbol of piety and modesty, a way for Muslim women to express their faith. However, the interpretation and implementation of these teachings have varied widely. In some Islamic societies, veiling is mandatory, enforced by law and social norms. In Iran, women are legally required to wear the hijab in public, a policy in force since the Islamic Revolution of 1979. In Saudi Arabia, the niqab, which covers the face, is common, though recent reforms have relaxed some dress code regulations. In contrast, countries like Turkey and Tunisia have had periods where veiling was discouraged, or even banned in public institutions, as part of efforts to promote secularism and modernization. These policies have sparked significant debate and resistance, highlighting the complex relationship between religion, culture, and state policy. For many women, veiling is a personal and empowering choice. It allows them to express their faith and maintain a sense of modesty. These women argue that the veil is a liberating garment, freeing them from societal pressures to conform to certain beauty standards. They see the hijab, niqab, or burqa as an expression of their identity and a symbol of their commitment to their beliefs. However, for others, mandatory veiling is a form of oppression, stripping them of their autonomy and forcing them to conform to patriarchal norms. Women in Iran and Saudi Arabia, for instance, have led protests and campaigns against mandatory veiling, risking arrest and violence to demand their right to choose. The global debate over veiling is further complicated by the actions of some Western countries. France, for example, has banned the wearing of full-face veils in public, arguing that it conflicts with the country's secular values and public safety concerns. Critics argue that such bans infringe on religious freedom and disproportionately target Muslim women, exacerbating discrimination and social exclusion. This diversity of perspectives underscores the importance of listening to Muslim women's voices. Their experiences and views are not homogeneous. They are shaped by a myriad of factors, including geography, socioeconomic status, and personal beliefs. The veiling debate also highlights broader issues of gender, power, and identity within Islam. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about the role of religion in public life, the balance between individual rights and community norms, and the ways in which cultural practices are shaped by historical and political contexts. As we explore these issues, it's crucial to remember that the struggle for women's rights within Islam is part of a larger global movement for gender equality. Muslim women are not just fighting for their rights within their religious communities. They are also challenging broader systems of oppression and inequality. Statistics provide a sobering glimpse into the realities faced by Muslim women. According to a 2019 report by the World Economic Forum, the Middle East and North Africa region has the highest gender gap in the world. Women in this region earn only 57% of what men earn, and only 20% participate in the workforce. These figures highlight the significant barriers that remain in the quest for gender equality. Despite these challenges, there is reason for hope. Grassroots movements and international advocacy efforts are making a difference. Organizations like the Malala Fund are working tirelessly to ensure that every girl has access to quality education. Legal reforms in countries like Morocco and Tunisia have improved women's rights in marriage and inheritance. The story of women in Islam is one of resilience and determination. It is a story of women who have fought and continue to fight for their rights, often at great personal risk. It is a story that defies simplistic narratives and requires a nuanced understanding. As we conclude this exploration, it's essential to recognize that the role of women in Islam is not static. It is continuously evolving, shaped by the efforts of those who challenge traditional norms and advocate for a more just and equitable society. In the end, the question is not whether Islam can accommodate gender equality. It is whether we, as a global community, can support and amplify the voices of those who are working towards this goal. The future of women in Islam depends on our collective commitment to justice, equality, and respect for all. As you reflect on this complex and often contentious issue, consider how you can contribute to positive change, whether through advocacy, education, or simply by listening and amplifying the voices of Muslim women. Each of us has a role to play in this ongoing struggle. Remember, the fight for gender equality is not just a women's issue, it is a human issue. And by supporting the rights of women in Islam, we move closer to a world where everyone, regardless of gender, can live with dignity, freedom, and equality. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you found this video insightful, please like, share, and subscribe for more content on critical social issues. Together, we can make a difference.